there is so much. I remember a point in time where I came into a bike shop and I just like really felt guilty because I needed my bike. There was something wrong with my cargo bike, and I didn't know what. And I knew that I would probably, there was something I should have been doing that I wasn't doing, and I didn't know what. And I felt ashamed, and I felt sort of terrified to ask stupid questions, and I just like didn't feel at ease at all. And then I just, as a user experience designer, it's like really clear to me that if this setting was more inviting and sort of made me feel more at ease, I would sort of gravitate to it more easily. Actually, one of our core values, we have 3 core values in the company, and it's joyful, practical, and transformational. So it's like, that's what it's all about.
Welcome to Bite Size, a series where we highlight innovation across transport, mobility, and smart cities, and meet the people that are making it happen. My name is Emily Bobbis. I'm a road intelligence startup founder, and my goal is to combat the stigma that transport is uncool, uninteresting, and uninspired. Well, Kari Anne, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast to chat with me today.
Thank you for having me.
I was hoping you could tell me a little bit more about your background and introduce yourself and let the listeners know what you're passionate about.
I would love to. My name is Kari Anne, or Kari Anne, and I am by training or by profession designer working with systemic design and service design and user experience design, mainly to the point of that I have been working a lot with making things online less annoying. And since 2017, I went solo and did independent consulting as a designer, and my goal was to work on a triple bottom line with people, planet, profit. I decided that the best way to do that was to work within mobility and sustainable mobility and cycling. Parallel to that, I've also sort of been raising my family on a cargo bike. We got our first cargo bike in 2013, and it sort of blew my mind. And I've been into the cargo bike community here and also the Cyclist Association, leading the Oslo chapter for a couple of years. So I was like drawn into activism and a sort of political work through the experiences I had on my own. Me and my husband have a total of 5 kids, some of them getting bigger now, but 4 of them living here with us. And we live like carless in the old part of the city in Oslo called Gamlebyen.
Excellent. How do you find living with 4 to 5 kids and being carless? Because I can imagine a lot of people in other cities would be like, I could never do that.
Well, the thing was, when we moved together here in 2012, we just decided to just try car sharing for 6 months, just to do it as like a trial, because we live in an apartment building and there is like street parking here, which is a nightmare for everyone who lives in the city. And that's fine. So we decided to check if that was something that would work for us. Because, I mean, I have parents on the countryside, and we are quite active family with like sport kids and stuff like that. And my husband is a coach as well, and I used to coach. So we sort of get around a lot, but then we learned that car sharing just really did the job for us. And that combined with the cargo bike just like solved more or less everything we needed. So we just kept on and just felt like, in a weird way, super free. I think it's and it was a barrier to us as well. I've grown up in the countryside, and I've sort of been used to cars all my life. But I feel that the e-bike sort of offers the freedom that the car promises, in a way, in a urban context. So yeah, it's been way less burdensome than we imagined ourselves, really.
And you've actually got your own initiative. I'm a little bit terrified to pronounce it because there is an exclamation mark in there. I might be overthinking it. Did you want to introduce it and tell us the story behind it and the problem that it's solving?
Yeah, so our company's name is We, and it's like you write it like WHEE exclamation point, but the name of the company is what the kids squeal when they ride. The kids sit in the back of the bike and they will instantly squeal Wee when they like go downhill or something. So that's the name of the company. And the company is cargo bike subscription service. So we offer compact mid-tail cargo bike. That's like not the traditional box bike, but a cargo bike with elongated rear rack with space for 2 kids, or depending on the model. And we've bundled that with a kind of an all-inclusive service with insurance and maintenance. In this climate, we also do like winter tires. We clean the bikes and we lubricate the chains and everything. And so we just maintain the bike for you. So our users, they have a low cost point of entry to the service, and they have like maintenance over time. And like if you get a flat, we will come help you real fast and stuff like that. That's the service. Wee.
It's very much a name you can't say without being happy, I think, which is kind of nice.
Actually, one of our core values, we have 3 core values in the company, and it's joyful, practical, and transformational. So it's like, that's what it's all about, really.
That's awesome. It's kind of nice to have, because there's roadside assistance for cars where someone will come and help you if you've got maintenance issues, and it's kind of nice to have the same thing for bikes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what we see is that we attract a whole new type of sort of customer into this space, and it's really important for us to sort of make them feel enabled. And a lot of the regular like the bike culture is like all about like maintaining yourself and understanding the mechanics and everything. But I think that's excluding a lot of people from actually adapting the bike as a mode of transportation. So we're all about sort of lowering the barriers and including more people who can potentially have benefit from using this mode of transportation.
So you've kind of touched on it, but why is solving this problem important? So that exclusion piece, I think, was quite important in that. And on our phone call before this podcast, you'd mentioned something called the Dawn Patrol.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing here in Oslo, but it's also it's a group of like very hip guys who go on pre-dawn, or they go on like a pre-sunset bike ride every week. And it's like the coolest guys, it's the ones that they're featured in magazines and they're super cool. But it's also like I'm a mom, and I have like almost always have like something I carry underneath my arm, and I just like tend to kids, so like cycling to me is not really, I don't identify as a cyclist, and I don't really feel the need to do that either. I just found out that riding a cargo bike and an e-bike is something that sort of makes the pieces of the puzzle that is my everyday life click into place, and that's super valuable for me. It saves me so much time in my everyday life. So I don't really, I love the sort of the aesthetic and the finesse and the beauty of like road cycling, but it's not for me. Yeah, it's beautiful, but it's like it has nothing to do with me and my type of needs.
So it sounds like being able to have this other side of cargo bikes and cycling and approach it from a very non-judgmental way is really important. And you mentioned something in the call again before this podcast about wanting to focus on giving and adding, not removing.
Yeah, I mean, and now I'm like, when you're saying in the call previous, like, what did I say? What did I say? No, just kidding. No, but I mean, it's really important. to just try to lower the barriers of usage and entry, and just like there is so much. I remember a point in time where I came into a bike shop and I just like really felt guilty because I needed my bike. There was something wrong with my cargo bike, and I didn't know what. And I knew that I would probably, there was something I should have been doing that I wasn't doing, and I didn't know what. And I felt ashamed, and I felt sort of terrified to ask stupid questions, and I just like didn't feel at ease at all. And then I just, as a user experience designer, it's like really clear to me that if this setting was more inviting and sort of made me feel more at ease, I would sort of gravitate to it more easily, and it wouldn't feel as exclusive as it did at the time. So yeah, we really think that it's about sort of opening up this space to a whole new user group, and that is very like beneficial for them because you have a great experience in your everyday life using this as a mode of transportation, and it's also very beneficial for society because it's low cost, it's low impact, it's low it's like non-pollutive, and it's not dangerous to other people in the city. So
you were also part of a program called EmpowerWISM. So for people who are listening who are not familiar, EmpowerWISM is a global mobility accelerator, which is held by a Canadian mobility agency called Movmi, who are based in Vancouver. And it's all about, WISM stands for Women in Shared Mobility. So EmpowerWISM is all about getting women and women-owned companies that are in mobility a little bit of exposure and kind of guidance onto how to expand those businesses. And so you were part of that program. What was that experience like, and why was that program valuable to you?
Mobility is, well, it's not a female dominated space, and that is not, transportation planning is not, and cycling industry is not very female dominated, or micromobility is not either. So I think it's really important to sort of spotlight the sort of differences, because also travel patterns vary so much between the genders. So it's, if you sort of disregard the user needs of half of the population, you will get transportation systems and solutions that doesn't really work that well. So that's why it's really important to sort of leverage and be more balanced when it comes to like gender and transportation. That's also why I was really impressed with the program. So, and I mean, I did the interview with the jury of the prize, like standing outside my kids' gym. Well, they went to like a exercise, and I had ridden a bike there, and I was like standing, and a tram was going by. So I was like, everything I did in regards to that was kind of on top of everything else. But it's, I mean, it's been, so I was very surprised when we won. I was, and super humble. I mean, we won in front of a really, really great Brazilian project called Nina, which is about safety in public transit, and also a EV charging company from Brooklyn. So that was like, wow, kind of mind blowing to to sort of be prioritized over that. But I also maybe feel that it was sort of an acknowledgement of the kind of radical approach that we take. It's like low key, but still kind of radical. Yeah, it's been really, I'm really proud of being sort of named the winner of and be given that award. It's super humbling, and I'm super proud.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
What are some of the challenges you faced in your journey? You've kind of talked a little bit about your experiences as to why it started, because you'd go into these places to get your cargo bike fixed, and they felt very exclusionary, and you felt like you didn't belong in that space. So what's the kind of the challenges that you've come across?
Our biggest challenge as a business as of now is actually asset financing. So since we sort of own these bikes that we offer to our customers as a subscription, it would have been super easy to do this with a car subscription service, because a car is sort of a financial instrument, and there's an asset class, and you can go to a bank and they will like shower you with a loan to sort of offer this into the public. But for us who do like a cargo bike, which is kind of a new thing, like it's a very expensive bike, but it sort of replaces a car in more ways. So there is no financial instrument that makes banks say, oh, yes, that's a great idea. Here you have some money. Even if we have contracts signed with customers for them, it's still a major challenge to finance the bike fleet. So that's something that's, of course, a major hindrance to our expansion, because we have so much customer interest and sort of could easily double the amount of bikes that we offer today if that was an option. And I mean, as a female, like going into the sort of venture space and talking about trying to secure funds and sort of sell stocks in our company and do emissions, when we know that around 2% or less of the VC capital, like the risk capital globally, goes to female-led teams. It's kind of an uphill struggle. But I mean, the fact that we are making money and are sort of on a route towards profitability and have like a very good unit economics is something that sort of works in our favor now, and that was a shift that happened last year. So it's like more about the sort of funding and financial aspects of the business that's challenging. But the other, like the main challenge and the main sort of goal of all this is, I really want more people on these bikes, because they look like one thing, but when you experience them in your life and use them as a mode of transportation, there's something completely else. So everyone who's like, when you ride your first e-bike and start to sort of use that in your daily life, it's kind of an epiphany. And we want more people to experience that epiphany, but it's also very difficult to explain the epiphany in a way. So that's also a challenge, like a communication that we are always working to solve.
Yeah, it's very interesting that it seems your challenge, or the barrier of placed by formal financial instruments, is almost like a reflection of the value that society places in bikes and micromobility schemes. And the VC funding aspect, particularly for women, doesn't help. I was like nodding my head at that stat. I was like, in Australia, it's like 0.7% of VC funding went to female founders last year. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Even when you were talking about the percentage of women in transport in Australia, the statistic is like less than 30% of the workforce is female. And then I think only less than 4% of that are women who hold CEO or C-suite positions. And then the gender pay gap in Australia is like 3% higher in transport than it is across other industries. I'm like, oh my God, when will it stop?
Yeah. So this sort of focus through the EmpowerWISM and initiatives like that are like sorely needed globally.
Yeah. So kind of at the pointy end of my questions, what is one question that you wish more people would ask you more often?
I mean, it's not the questions I'm the one to answer, but it's a question that I really wish that was sort of more prominent in the media discourse. And it's just like a more critical take on why we do innovation and who we do innovation for, especially like in the mobility space and the public innovation space. And when I think about that, it's like in regards of new transportational solutions and smart city solutions and stuff like that. The funds going into that would be so much more well spent with like better systemic solutions that can actually be implemented now. So it's like, it's not but how can we change things now instead of like spending so much energy on solutions that might not even happen, when we know that innovation through policy change and through regulation and through sort of reprioritization of space and funding and everything would be a more efficient and sort of solution that will benefit more people sooner. That's something I love to talk about, and I wish more people would ask me about, or ask the ones in charge of this about.
Yes, I think innovation is really cool, and that's also why it's very it can get misleading to just have innovation for innovation's sake and not think about the goal or the practical outcomes for a particular project.
Yeah, I mean, I wish from coming from the tech industry and like being sort of a user agent within that industry for a long time, I just wish that sort of the societal constraint and the environmental constraints and the sort of why are we doing this would be, I wish we could work more in the intersection between society, environment, and technology, instead of like being completely technology driven and doing like it's like tech first innovation. I would like to work that, especially like public bodies work more in the intersection of those three.
So out of everything that we've talked about today, what would you want to be the one thing, the key takeaway for people listening?
If you haven't tried an e-bike or an electric cargo bike and you have like mainly short trips and you live in a city, just do it. Try one. Go to a shop, try one. Just lend one. Get into the cargo bike community and try one before you sort of judge what it is, because it's just really, really practical and great. And it also sort of gives you, especially for me, like when you have kids, it gives you more time in your everyday life in a period of time where that's the one thing you lack.
Excellent. And how can people connect with you?
We have an English like temporary website called we.bike, so you can check that out, and there's an email there. I'm also on LinkedIn with my full name, and on Twitter, mainly in Norwegian, and Mastodon. So I'm not that much on Twitter anymore, but I used to be a lot. Yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most normal way to get in touch at the moment.
Perfect. I'll also include all those links in the show notes that we publish on Substack. So very easy to find all of these things as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I would love to give a shout out to my Australian sort of collaborator and mentor and very inspiring man, Dr. Stephen Fleming, who's in Newcastle. He was also one of the reasons why I sort of got into this very progressive idea of sort of leveraging cycling into a service and sort of thinking differently about that.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephen, if you're listening. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Kari Anne, to talk through cargo biking and all of the kind of ins and outs involved with that. And for sharing your story and your experience starting WE.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was really great.
If you'd like to learn more about any of the guests that we have on the podcast, more about Bitesize, or more about Compass IoT, the company that produces this podcast, you can visit our website, which is www.compassiot.com.au. Until next time.